Are you thinking about making a career change and moving into a leadership position? Leaving the classroom can be hard. There are a lot of options that will keep you in the educational sector. What should you consider when you're thinking about transitioning from the classroom into a leadership role, and what steps should you take? Let's talk today about teacher transition. Hi friend, are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope today is a great day so far. School is probably over for you now or very close to being. You may be getting ready to start summer school, or you may be just ready to take the summer off and you are going to enjoy yourself and have a little bit of you time, some downtime, and do some things that you want to do. I hope you're taking a little bit of time to maybe go swimming, read some books and catch up on some things. Maybe listen to some podcasts and do some professional development. Maybe you're going to go on an awesome vacation, a cruise, or to another country or some things like that. I have some friends who are going to Iceland and I am super jealous. Whatever it is that you are doing, remember to take care of you. Take this time to rejuvenate and get yourself prepared for next year. But right now, just enjoy yourself and your family and maybe your pets if you have some pets, and just get yourself in a good spot mentally and physically. Some of you may be really thinking about what you can do this summer to help push you into some kind of a leadership position next year, or get you in the mindset to start preparing to move into a leadership position. And you're ready to take on some more responsibilities or take some classes, get a certification so you can be a principal. Whatever it is that you are ready to do in your leadership, now is the time to start thinking about that and thinking how to prepare for that. And today, that's exactly what I want to talk about, is how to make that transition from the classroom into that leadership position. When I was ready to leave the classroom, I knew it. It was time. I was ready to do something different. I wanted more of a challenge, although teaching middle school students is pretty much of a challenge on its own. But I was ready to do something more, to make an impact on a bigger level, a larger scale. And when it was time, I knew it. God was calling me, and He told me that the year before I left the classroom. So I started preparing, and then he gave me one more year in the classroom, my best year ever as a teacher. He let me have that one last amazing best year ever in my career. And it was so amazing. I had absolutely the best students. So it was the perfect way to end my time in the classroom. So when I moved into a leadership role, I became a principal. My heart was full and I was at peace. I had enjoyed several years in the classroom and I was ready to take on that challenge of being a principal. And today I want to talk to you about some ways to get prepared, even if you are not ready to move into that leadership role yet. If you're even thinking about it at all, now is the time to really start preparing and taking on some more responsibilities. So today, let's talk about how to prepare for that transition from the classroom into leadership. Number one, how do you know when it's time to go? How do you know when it's time to step out of the classroom teacher role and into something different? Well, sometimes you're just not fulfilled anymore. You're just feeling kind of burned out, you're bored, and you're just not enjoying getting up and going to work every day any longer. And when you get to that point, it is very important that you start thinking about what your next steps are, because it's not fair to your students or your coworkers or anyone for you not to be giving 100%. And we always want to give 100%. But sometimes when you get to that point where you're just burned out and you're just struggling to go to work every day, sometimes you're not really able to give 100%. And so that's when it's time to start pivoting. Maybe God's calling you and saying, hey, it's time. Let's get prepared. For me, I started to think about different positions or different jobs and roles that I could have as a leader. And for me, it was moving into a principalship. I was ready for a change. I was ready for more responsibility. For some of you, you may be getting really close to retirement and you're ready to bump that retirement income. And that is a legitimate reason. You don't want to stay in the classroom any longer than absolutely necessary. If you love teaching, teach until you are ready to retire. Not everybody wants to teach for 30 years or 35 years. Some of you have taught for many years, 20 years, and you're getting closer to that retirement age and you're thinking, I really need to do something so I can enjoy my last few years in the classroom and be ready to retire when it's time. And we all know teachers already don't get paid what they're worth. Absolutely not. And so sometimes you have to, especially if you're teaching in a rural area where the pay is not super great, it's not paying into your retirement at a super high income level, then sometimes you need to think about a different role that you can bump that retirement. And there's a lot of other reasons as well to think about moving into that leadership role. So it's not just money. It's not just being unfulfilled. It's not just being bored. There are so many reasons, and all of us have a different reason for wanting to move into that leadership role. So whatever your reason is, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Sometimes we have that loyalty to the classroom and we feel so bad about leaving our students. But your students leave you every single year. And there is no reason that you can't connect with your students after they leave your classroom. And as a principal, you get to have a whole new set of students, a whole much larger set of students to talk to build those relationships with, and keep that teacher-student relationship going, because you're always going to be a teacher. Just because you're in a principal position or some other kind of position does not mean you are not a teacher. You're just a teacher in a different way. I was reading a post. So I started taking a teacher transition course and I wanted to think about working from home. I met a guy he had never worked a typical job like we work. And so his time was flexible. His time was his own, and he was going back and forth to Miami. And I want to be flexible for my guy. And so I don't want to be tied down to a job that I can't travel with him and help him build his business as well. And so I started thinking about some other options to stay in the educational field, but not be in a typical school district. And so I started taking a teacher transition course, and I was looking on the Facebook group that I was part of, or maybe it was just an ad, I don't remember, for the same course that I was taking. And someone on there posted something about stealing all of the good teachers. And I really wanted to give an answer to that person. That person probably has never been in a classroom full of students in their life. And they do not understand the amount of stress, the amount of emotion, the amount of love that you pour into your students, and how taxing it can be on you physically, emotionally. It can be taxing on your family. If you're taking your work home with you, if you're stressed, that can be a really bad place to be. And I wanted to tell this person that you don't want someone teaching kids that doesn't want to be there any longer. If they're looking on this post, they're ready to leave the classroom and do something different. Do you want to make people stay in a classroom that don't want to be there? Absolutely not. And there are teachers entering the educational field every day. We have wonderful, wonderful teachers coming in to the educational field. And we have teachers that are ready to leave the classroom or leave education altogether. But some of those teachers that are leaving the classroom, they have so much wisdom, so much things that they can give to those teachers coming in. And that is where they need to be. You want those seasoned teachers to be mentors to those new teachers coming in. And there should be no judgment or no shame from anyone about a decision to leave the classroom. That is your decision. That is your personal decision. And no matter what your reason is, your reason is valid. And when you've made that decision to leave the classroom, number 2, what should you think about? Well, first of all, let's think about what type of position that you want to move into. Maybe you want to leave education completely and do something completely different. Maybe you're ready to stop being a teacher or whatever it is that you're doing and leave education, and that's okay too. For some of you, you are ready to leave the classroom and either move into a principal role or a director's role of some sort or an instructional coaching role. Or some of you want to leave public education or charter education completely, or maybe some of you are in private education and you want to leave that behind and do something different, but stay in the educational field. There are tons of opportunities for teachers who are ready to transition from the classroom into something different. Instructional design is what I actually was taking the course for. And that is something that so many of you do that every day, ladies and gentlemen. You are instructional designers right now. You design your instruction in your classroom all the time. And so that is something that is super transferable into something else. So do some research and see what's out there and see what your options are. And when you're thinking about all of those different options, you're going to need to think about the responsibilities that go along with that. If you move into a principal position, what responsibilities are you going to have? Are you ready to take on those responsibilities? Are you in a place in your life where you can? If you have young children, maybe really think about what you want to do, because it's a time commitment to be a principal. You don't always go home when the kids go home at the end of the day. Very rarely do you get to go home when the kids go home at the end of the day. And you're putting in weekends, you're putting in after school hours, you're doing a lot of things that sometimes you don't think about. And it's exciting thinking about moving into that new role. But make sure you know what that new role entails and what kind of commitments that you have to make for that. And then think about your knowledge gap or your position requirements. Do you need to get some further education? Do you have to, if you're moving from a classroom teacher into a principal position, you're going to have principal certification. So if you haven't already gotten that, you're going to have to start preparing and thinking about, I need to pick a college. I need to know exactly what it is I need to do and how long it's going to take me to get there. So think about your degrees, your certifications. If you are going to do something like instructional design, you don't have to have a different certification for that. However, you might want to take a course, a personal course, a side course, so you can learn what that looks like and you can know how to be very effective in that role. And then number 3, how do you prepare for that? What are the steps? Well, when you're thinking about it, seek out some leadership opportunities in your current role. Talk to your principal and try on a few different things. See if your principal is okay with you leading some cohorts or doing some professional development with your teachers. Not only will that help you make an informed decision, it'll help you close some of those knowledge gaps, and it gives you some substance for your resume for when you are ready to start looking for that job. And once you have determined what it is you want to do, what you have a passion for, figure out what certifications you need and get those nailed down very quickly. And then update your resume with all of those new experiences that you have. Build your experience and your qualification as you go, and then update that resume and get that cover letter looking really good. And then when you have all of that done, my friends, start applying. You need to apply within your own district. A lot of times it's easier to get those roles in your own district. Or if the role that you are seeking is not available in your district, then start applying to other districts. And don't be scared. It's scary. Yes, I'm not going to say it's not scary. And okay, so I lied. You can be scared, but don't let that stop you. You need to make sure that you get your leadership in motion. Have courage. You can be scared and still have courage to make that move into that leadership role. So I hope today has been a blessing for you, and I hope you've learned a little bit of something. And I hope that God blesses you and keeps you, and that His face shines upon you as you are moving into that leadership role and figuring out all of the things that you want to do in your future career as an educator. Have an amazing day. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. Hey, friends. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you please do me a favor and take 30 seconds to hop on over to Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and a review? That way it bumps my show, it gets me noticed, and it lets me know what you're enjoying. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.